And now, aviation weather around Alaska. Hi, I'm meteorologist Peter Chan with the National Weather Service. Here is your aviation weather outlook on this Sunday, July 16th, 2023. And Sunday morning, we still have extensive areas of rain surrounding Cook Inlet, the Kenai Peninsula, associated with low pressure. It continues to sit and spin over the southwestern portion of the mainland, and we have a decent tap of moisture coming in out of the North Pacific and through the western Gulf, feeding this system. And we have areas of rain extending farther north as well into the interior. Out toward the west, there is a frontal system with a push of warmer air that is currently working its way across the western half of the Aleutians and in through areas of the Panhandle. Relatively drier conditions, especially the northern half, the Panhandle up through Yakutat. But as we put the satellite into motion, you can see that the precipitation, moisture being forced farther north. There'll be some scattered showers, even some isolated thunderstorms possible the next couple of afternoons, especially Monday into Tuesday, along areas, the southeast slopes there of the Brooks Range and along the Alcan border, including the Yukon Flats. So again, we have this area of low pressure just sitting and spinning along the southwest. The actual surface low centered more toward Kodiak Island. By the time we get into Monday morning, that surface low will still be just east of Kodiak City out over the western Gulf. That low feature will just kind of wobble across areas of the Gulf here as we go through the next couple of days. Again, Monday morning, isolated thunder shower possible up there toward the Yukon Flats. IFR conditions down through areas of the North Slope Arctic coast, along much of the Gulf Coast, even up in through Cook Inlet, though the rains are going to be gradually diminishing this Sunday afternoon and evening across areas of the Susitna Valley and Cook Inlet, and then be confined mainly to along the Kenai coast and Prince William Sound as we go into the day on Monday. Some isolated to scattered thunderstorms possible again in areas of the east central interior Monday afternoon. Widespread IFR out over the Gulf, down through the Bering Strait, especially once you get offshore of the southwest mainland. Much of the Bering Sea and Aleutians under IFR conditions. Tuesday morning, isolated thunder shower possible again from the southeastern Brooks Range down to the 40-mile Gold Country area. But IFR continues just off of the Gulf Coast there out over the Gulf and along areas of the lower Yukon Delta and covering much of the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. Tuesday afternoon, still potential for an isolated to widely scattered thunderstorm up here across areas southeast slopes of the Brooks Range and again down up into the upper Yukon Valley. Area of IFR should be diminishing across the Gulf and conditions at least improving a bit Tuesday surrounding Cook Inlet compared to the persistent rain that we saw through the course of this weekend. So in the Brooks Range on Monday, Anatuvik Pass should start out MVFR becoming VFR. Same thing at Adigan Pass. Marginal visual flight rules there early giving way to VFR. Lake Clark and Merrill start out IFR on Monday morning, giving way to VFR conditions as we do expect things, at least the moisture, to begin to pull out. Rain certainly diminishing as we go through later this Sunday and into early Monday. Rainy Pass IFR becoming VFR. Windy Pass should generally see VFR conditions, though as you fly north of the north entrance on Monday, there could be some cumulus buildup, scattered showers, perhaps an isolated thunderstorm. Isabel Pass, VFR conditions anticipated Monday, though an isolated thunderstorm could pop up in vicinity. Same thing, Mentasta Pass, especially there northward, there's the potential for some cumulus buildups, some scattered showers, isolated thunderstorm in vicinity of Mentasta Pass on Monday afternoon and evening. Tanita Pass, generally MVFR conditions early, giving way to VFR. And then Portage Pass, been socked in with the IFR conditions this weekend. We'll see that early Monday giving way to VFR. And then Chilkoot and White should just ride the fence with MVFR conditions for the day on Monday, though initially early Monday down towards Skagway and Haines, you may see IFR conditions. Freezing levels on Monday morning. Coolest or lowest freezing levels are just south of the Alaska Peninsula, 6,000 feet, and then they're generally near 6,000 feet along the northwestern Arctic coast, Wainwright up toward Utqiagvik. Warmer, Higher freezing levels aloft in excess of 10,000 feet here over northwestern central Canada, where there's much warmer air through this region. And then down here toward the southwest, freezing levels rise up to 12 and 14,000 feet as you go out across the Aleutians. And there is a push of warmer air that will be riding across the lower Bering Sea and the Aleutian chain as we go through early in the week. As far as icing, greatest threat of icing, there could be some isolated icing above 10,000 feet over parts of the northwestern Gulf on up into southeast interior. Wrangell Mountains on up toward the Alcan border. Here to the west is that frontal system working its way up through the lower Bering Sea. The warmer air could trigger some cloud cover and precipitation, but again, freezing levels quite high above 16,000 feet way out there. 30,000-foot winds at jet stream level are going to be strongest out of the north across the southeast Bering and into the tip southern part of the Alaska Peninsula. 85 to 95 knots at 700 millibars. We'll look at a northerly flow across the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, 35 to 40 knots. And then back here out toward the western Aleutians, we do see winds of 50 to 70 knots from the west-southwest, associated with that push of warmer air coming in from the North Pacific across the lower Bering. And then 3,000-foot winds, we do have that low circulation out over toward the central Gulf later Monday afternoon. Winds on the backside of it, upwards of 30, 35 knots across the lower half of the Alaska Peninsula. And then behind me here, we have low pressure off of the Kamchatka coast. And so this push of warmer air coming up through the lower Bering Sea, driven by winds at 3,000 feet, anywhere from 35 to as high as 60 knots. And the greatest threat for turbulence then for Monday will be areas of the Alaska Peninsula in that north-northwest flow. We can see moderate turbulence there, and then back toward the western Aleutians, anywhere though across this area from the lower, especially lower Alaska Peninsula to the western Aleutians, there may be some areas of moderate turbulence, surface to 4,000 feet.